Computers to mobile phones, TVs and the internet. Information you want, all the help you need. Your Tech Life with Trevor Long.
Welcome to Your Tech Life. I'm Trevor Long, and today I'm going to have a look at the SONY XPERIA Arc, which is quite possibly, and in my opinion, the best Android phone on the market today. For many reasons, let's take a look. Alright, well look, the first thing we notice about this SONY XPERIA Arc is frankly how thin it is. Now, what's interesting about this is it's actually not overall that thin. Now, if I just put it up against, this is I think an LG Optimus 7, when you sit them side by side, resting on a table for example, they're very similar. But here's what Sony's done. They've made it feel thin. Now, what you'll see here is the Arc, obviously that's the name, the Arc design basically makes it feel thin where you hold it. You hold it around the center, and that's where it feels thin. That's what gives this device its upfront impression that is mind-blowing. The second thing is the weight. This is something like 117 grams, which is around 20 grams lighter than the iPhone. Now, 20 grams doesn't sound like a lot, but let me just tell you that it feels like a lot. Compare it to, again, I mean, it's not the perfect comparison, but the LG Optimus 7 here, and you're talking about 40 grams difference. It really, really makes a difference when you sit them side by side, when you pick them up and see how it feels to you. Now, the other impressive thing about this device is the 4.2-inch touchscreen. It's about 854 by 480 resolution, but the key here is what they call at Sony the Bravia engine, the Bravia mobile engine, which allows them to basically use more of the device, use more of the space on the device for the screen rather than having too much of a bezel around the outside. Has a HD camera in the back, and on top, under a very small flap, a HDMI output. Okay, also along the top is the main power button. It is actually just a simple negative thing, but it's actually a little bit hard to press because it's a little bit inset. Good for design, but not that perfect to press. But the great thing is that the home button on the device acts as a power on, which is something simple that other devices don't seem to do. If you take a look at the side, you've got your standard audio out for your headphones. And on the bottom, a cable clip, a microphone hole, camera button, so that's your shutter button there, and volume buttons, and finally your micro USB charging. And don't be fooled by the square nature of that charger. That will fit your standard micro USB, which comes with most any device. You can really see here how the thickness at the one end, or both ends, really changes the arc in the middle. It's very thick at the top, but not quite so thick at the bottom, and certainly nowhere near as thick when you're in the middle of the device, which is great. So your standard Android navigation buttons, but as I say, I think it is a simple but important thing that the home button does actually power on the device. Alright, for those familiar with Android, obviously this is a standard Android operating system. This is running Gingerbread 2.3, which is obviously the latest version for mobile devices. And look, you know, the average Joe won't notice the difference, but the intricate differences are there for those who are interested in the very latest and greatest. Importantly, those new to Android, the key here is that you're not just set with a bunch of icons like in the Apple ecosystem. You can basically have live widgets on your screen. So here, for example, I've got a music player widget, media widget, recent photo widget, a live Twitter widget. So while as soon as I turn on the phone, I see my latest tweets. I don't have to go into an application, and all fully customizable. What I put where. Here is a Facebook widget, and these are direct links, very quick links to your networking options. This is, for example, a screen brightness option, which will dim the screen. Very handy if you're just in a room where you want to reduce the brightness or you want to preserve some battery life there and then. The Sony version of the app list is very much, well, they're going horizontally, not up and down, vertically as many do, but that's a choice that seems to be made between players. Look, very standard looking display. I'm sure there's some great simple apps that Sony have come up with. I'm yet to find out what is WhatsApp. It seems to be some sort of messaging service between mobile phones running that. But essentially, it's your standard Android app layout. So let's take a quick look at messaging, and you can see here your basic message screen, and it's nested messaging, so easy to see and read, which is great and pretty standard these days in smartphones, but a really slick and easy interface. It's a quick processor on here. It's running a 1 gigahertz Snapdragon processor, so you're getting good performance out of this. It's an 8 megapixel camera. There's something like 512 mega RAM, and you'll get a 16 gig micro SD card in the device. I'm not sure that's actually going to be standard. It may be an 8 gig, but whatever the case, you'll get yourself a micro SD card as well. Now, something silly, I've got to be honest, that I'm not a fan of is the controls in the media player. When you're in a song or you're playing a song, it's very hard it's in fact impossible to select from here shuffle. Now, I know it sounds silly, but I think it's an important thing. You actually have to go into the menu, into the tracks menu, and then shuffle all, as opposed to being anywhere else and having a shuffle option. But apart from that, it's a great media player. As I say, the widget here allows you to play direct, and that'll play through the speakerphone or through your Bluetooth, whatever you want. And that's playing through the bottom speaker down here. Now, the widget's fantastic. It's a very quick and easy way to access your media, especially when you're in a car, if you're driving along. The only problem I'll again grant you is that when you're, for example, in a car and you just want to flick between songs, unless you have a remote handset which may allow you to do that, you actually have to unlock the phone to flick to the next song. Something I like about my BlackBerry is you can push and hold the volume button, and that will actually go to the next track or previous track depending on what you're doing. I think it's a simple thing that other manufacturers should pick up on. Another quick thing that's interesting, if you push and hold the home key, you'll get a list of recent apps, which is fantastic. Nice and easy way to access recently used things. And look, one really great feature, I've got to be honest, I think this is awesome. In the photo viewing application, or your standard there, when you've got a list of photos, if you pinch out on those photos, it will scroll through them for you there. So if I pinch on this list here, there we go. It actually just flicks through the photos, so you can see in a very quick preview all those photos. I just think, in terms of trying to work out what is in a folder, a really easy way to do it. These are photos off my Picasa gallery, and these are all from the drive, from the SD card on the computer. Really simple. And those are videos there flicking up. You can see the power of the processor here, just flicking up the videos. It's a great little way to scroll through your photos and videos. Really impressed with that. Phone calls, everything works really well. Gmail, obviously, if you're living in the Google Cloud, it's fantastic. Everything else is Android based, so your Android apps and everything are wonderful on here. Look, the bottom line is, for such an amazingly thin device, and as I say, it is thin in the middle, but that's where you feel it. That's where you really notice it. Everyone who picks up this phone notices it. Everyone that picks it up goes, wow. And that's an important thing. It's light, and as I say, 20 grams here and there doesn't make a huge difference in numbers, but in terms of how it is and how it is to use, you will really notice those 20 grams. Look, in summary, I have to say that I can't imagine a better Android device worth buying at this point in time. I play with a lot. I'm not a hardcore Android user. I'm a BlackBerry user. Look, you still got the touch keyboard. That's always going to be my problem with these devices. I really do need the accuracy of typing on a tactile keyboard. But this has impressed me in every way possible. That it is absolutely worth recommending. This is a 4.5 star Android device. The half star missing is purely because you just never know what's coming next. But design, quality, this is going to take Sony Ericsson well on their way to that goal that they've clearly set of being number one in the Android market. It also comes in several colours. This, I don't know if you can see the shade, is a blue shade, midnight blue. The Sony Xperia Arc, well worth a look if you're in a market for a new smartphone.